Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Nandana Bhajanna Ranjana Jasodanandana Bhajanna Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasodanandana Bhajanna Ranjana Jasodanandana Bhajanna Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira vanachari Jamuna Tira vanachari James Pad Paramahansa His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Gaura Vaishnava ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Samakun, Radhakun, Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shri Vrindavanam ki jai, Shri Maya Parnavidam ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Somaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Go Premanandi, how glorious some of the devotees, how glorious some of the devotees, how glorious some of the devotees, how glorious Shishi Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning reading the srimadbhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, Verse 37. Imang tvam adhististvasva parim navamukhim vibhor mayopanitan grinana kama bogan satang samaha imang tvam adhististvasva Paring Navamuking Vibho Mayopanitan Gridnana Kama Bogan Satang Samaha Imang Twang Atitistasva Paring Navamuking Vibho Mayopanitan Gridnana Kama Bogan Satang Samaha Imang Tong Aditisaspa Paring Navamuking Vibho Mayo Panitan Grinana Kama Bogan Satang Samaha Imang Tong Aditisaspa Imam, this, Tvam, your good self, Aditistasva, just remain, Purim, in the city, Navamukim, with 9 gates, Vibho, O my Lord, Maya, by me, Upanitan, arranged, Grinana, taking kama boga, the materials for sense gratification. Satam, 100. Sama, years. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki. My dear Lord, I have just arranged this city of 9 gates for you so that you can have all kinds of sense gratification. You may live here for 100 years, and everything for your sense gratification will be supplied. Purport. Dharma artha kama mokshanam dhara samprapti hetavaha. The wife is the cause of all kinds of success in religion, economic development, sense gratification, and ultimately salvation. When one accepts a wife, it is to be understood that he is being helped in his progressive march toward liberation. In the beginning of life, a person is trained as a brahmachari and is then allowed to marry a suitable girl and become a householder. If one is thoroughly trained in household life, he finds all facilities for human life: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Everything is there if it is executed according to regular principles. So I was thinking, just go on to the next verse here. Kang nutfad anyam Ramiya hiyarti kanam akovidam asam parayabhimukam asvastanna vidham pashum. How can I expect to unite with others who are neither conversant about sex nor capable of knowing how to enjoy sex life while living after death? I'm going to read it. How can I expect to unite with others who are neither conversant about sex nor capable of knowing how to enjoy life while living or after death? Such foolish persons are like animals because they do not know the process of sense enjoyment in this life and after death. Purport. Since there are 8,400,000 species of life, there are also many different living conditions. In the lower grades of life, in plant and tree life, there is no system for sexual intercourse. In the upper grades, in the life of the birds and bees, heard the birds and the bees. It's interesting you said. There is sex, but the insects and animals do not know how to actually enjoy sex life. In the human form of life, however, there is full knowledge of how to enjoy sex. Indeed, there are many so-called philosophers who give directions on how to enjoy sex life. There is even a science called Kama Shastra, which is the science of sex. There's one devotee, Taradas, he would be distributing books, and he would show the book to him. He'd say, "You've heard of the Kama Shastra, yeah?" He'd say, "Yeah, I've heard of it." "Yeah, this is just the opposite." And then he'd go and show it. Kama Sutra, that's what they're, yeah, well, Prabhupada says here Kama Shastra, but yeah, that's Kama Sutras, that's famous actually around the world, Kama Sutras, yeah. But it's just the opposite, that's the fact, it's just the opposite. What we're out, see, they're completely absorbed in sense gratification, right? That's their ultimate goal in life, is to satisfy the senses. But we're trying to understand we're not the senses, at all. But God has senses, and we're trying to satisfy His senses. So it's just the opposite. But we're in this world where everybody is in the bodily conception of life. So to get free of that, it's such a deep disease. To get free of this bodily conception of life, it's a great challenge. So the girl is thinking she's a girl, the boy is thinking he's a boy, and they get attracted to each other. Actually, Prabhupada said that the boy is good, the girl is good, the boy and girl together, not good. Because actually there's a book that men are from Mars, women are from Venus. There's this different chemical, something. So it's difficult to have a nice, meaningful relationship. What was it? Our Ramapaji Prabhu probably doesn't know this, but there's a story of Hansel and Gretel. You've heard of Hansel and Gretel? They're very famous. It's a very famous story in Germany of a brother and sister who were lost in the forest, wandering in the forest. And in the Bhagavatam also there's a chapter, the forest of material enjoyment. So they're in this forest and they're wandering around in this forest, not knowing what to do, lost. It's dangerous. So then they come upon this gingerbread house. And there's all kinds of candy and sweets and cake and just all kinds, and they're just thinking, this got to be a dream. This is fantastic. We're lost, lamenting, and now there's this gingerbread house. This is fantastic, and they're just, salivating at their mouth, just to enjoy this. And then a witch comes out from the house and says, "Oh, we have many more goodies in here. Come inside. Come inside." And she lured them inside, and what did she do? She threw them in the oven. She was a cannibal witch. So of course they escaped, and eventually they threw her in the oven. But that's the material world. We become attracted. Oh, this looks so good, so nice. I could enjoy. And then Maya throws us in the oven, and we get burnt. There's a lot of people getting burnt in the world. One devotee told me that. He said, "Vijay, with words I cannot tell you how much I suffered in household life." Of course, the men are suffering, the women are suffering, everybody's suffering in this world, and mainly it's because of this attraction between male and female. This is actually, Krishna says, "Nata tasya bhavat klesha bandhas chanya prasangata." Actually, that's twice in the Bhagavatam. Kapila says it to his mother as well. He says, of all types of suffering and bondage that arise in the material world, none is greater than that which one experiences in the association of the opposite sex. So it's something that we have. It's a big hurdle actually to become free of that attraction. But actually, we're trying to become attracted to Krishna. If we can get attracted to Krishna, then that's not a problem. It's no worries. There's attraction and repulsion. If we're just absorbed in the repulsion, or hating and becoming, disgusted, then we get no. But to become attracted to Krishna, then automatically we become detached from the attraction to the opposite sex. So, in human life, there are also such divisions as brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. There is no sex life except in the grihastha or household or ashram. The brahmacharya is not allowed any sex. A vanaprastha voluntarily refrains from sex, and the sannyasi is completely renounced. The karmis do not practice brahmacharya, vanaprastha, or sannyas, for they are very much interested in grihastha life. In other words, a human being is very much materially inclined. Indeed, all living entities are materially inclined. They prefer grihastha life because there is a concession for sex. The karmis think the other statuses of life are worse than animal life, for animals also have sex. Whereas the brahmacharya, vanaprastha, and sannyas completely give up sex. The karmis therefore abhor these orders of spiritual life. Om Jnanatamandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Mukam Kurtavachalam Ponganong Hayategrin Yat Kripa Tamaham Mandi Shri Gurum Dinadana Vanchakapa Trivista Kripa Sindhu Devacha Paditanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnave Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the situation if one is following Krishna, that sex life is only there in household life. And therefore people are very attached to this household life for this reason. But actually if someone is having sex for any other reason than to raise Krishna conscious children, he's not a grihastha. What is he? He's a grihamedi. Grihamedi means one's intelligence is focused on sense gratification. Grihastha is an ashram, where their intelligence is focused on pleasing Krishna. It's an ashram. And therefore we have many, actually Prabhupada said that if someone is following the regular principles as a householder, then he is a grihastha brahmachari. And he even goes further to say he's a grihastha sannyasi, just like we have some devotees in this movement, grihasthas, that are grihastha sannyasis, like Vaisheshika Prabhu. Even Indradhyumna Swami said, if I had a choice of who to accept as a guru, if I was in that situation, Vaisheshika Prabhu would be his choice. And how many sannyasis are there in our movement? Maybe 100? More than 100. You know? And here, Indradhyumna Swami is such an elevated devotee, he would choose a householder. And Burijan, another one, very elevated. And sannyasis take guidance from them. You know, these two great Vaishnavas. Now they're grihasthas. And they have affection for their wives and children. But they're not attached. See, that's the difference. There's affection is there, but they're not attached. They're attached to Krishna. And they have affection for so many living entities, but their attachment is for Krishna. And therefore, Krishna is in the center of the relationship. Therefore, Krishna is in the center of the relationship. As long as Krishna is there in the center of the relationship, it can be a wonderful relationship. I mean, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so many, Srivas Thakur. You know, he was, Srivas Thakur told Lord Chaitanya that his wife was pregnant. And Lord Chaitanya became very happy. On the other hand, there was one brahmachari who had gotten some rice from Madhavi, who was the half. You know, there's 3 1/2. Sikamihiti, Swarvadamodar, and who? Ramananda Roy. Ramananda Roy, Sikamihiti, and Swarvadamodar. Those are the 3, and then Madhavi, she was the half. So he went to get rice from Madhavi, and there was a young lady there that he became attracted to. And Lord Chaitanya, he's omniscient. So he asked this devotee that he was getting prasadam from, where did you get this rice? Oh, Chota Haridas, he went and he got it from Madhavi. Tell him I don't want to see him again. He can't be in my association anymore. And he got the word. And all the devotees, I mean, Chota Haridas, he was part of the inner circle of the Vaishnavas. And they were approaching Lord Chaitanya. What is this? Why is it? He's been fasting for 3 days, Lord Chaitanya. Please be merciful. Yeah. And Lord Chaitanya, he said, I'm guided by my mind. And Lord Chaitanya has a very pure mind. So don't ask me again. And then they thought, okay. And he even said that if you do, I'll leave. It was super heavy. So then they asked Paramananda Puri, he was like he was the godbrother of Ishvara Puri, so he was like a guru to Lord Chaitanya. So they went to Paramananda Puri, please can you ask him to be merciful? So he went, and as soon as he even suggested that Lord Chaitanya be merciful to Chota Haridas, let him come again, he said, all right, I'm leaving. He got up and he started to pack. Told us, Govinda, all right, we're leaving now. And then Paramananda Puri said, no, he became a little hasty. No, never mind. It's okay, never mind. And Lord Chaitanya stayed. So Lord Chaitanya was very strict. The women would have to pay obeisances from a far distance, like 100 yards away or something. So Lord Chaitanya was very strict, and he didn't like hypocrisy. So after this, all the devotees became very conscientious of not speaking to women at all. So this is the situation. We have to be very strict in our Krishna consciousness. It's not an easy thing what we're trying to achieve. And if we want to achieve the highest goal, then we have to really focus on Krishna and try, like anything, to be attached. Man proposes, God disposes. And there's one statement, I think Rupa Goswami, he says, when will my attraction for you be like that of a young boy to a young girl, or a young girl to a young boy? The attraction, it's automatically there. When you get to be about 15, 16, you get hit by this truck of lust. Like what was that? It's amazing, So when will my attraction be like that? Just automatic attraction. So this is something to look forward to. We're very attracted to Krishna. So there's two qualities that Krishna is attracted to himself, and one is devotion. If he sees that a devotee has great devotion for him, it's described, he's conquered and overwhelmed by such devotion. He's conquered by devotion. This is the only way to conquer Krishna. Bhaktyamam abhijnanati yamanyaschasmi tatomam tatato jnana vishite tadanantaram. That one can understand the Supreme Personality of God as he is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of him, through such devotion one can enter into the kingdom of God. So there's nothing else that pleases Krishna. Krishna doesn't need anything. Right? He's Atmaram, he's completely self-satisfied, doesn't need anything. But if someone is devoted to him, he's very pleased. Or if someone is devoted to his devotee, he's even more pleased. And there's an amazing pastime of Srivas Thakur that, what was it? Actually, no, not Srivas Thakur. There was a devotee, Kalidas. Kalidas, he wanted to get the remnants of all the devotees in Bengal. So, and he was very determined to get everyone's remnants. So there was one devotee his name was Jadu Thakur, and he was from a lower class, but Kalidas, he just overlooked any caste system or anything. If someone was a devotee, then he was attracted to him, and he wanted to get their remnants. So he went to the house of Jadu Thakur, and they were talking about Krishna, and he brought some mangoes for Jadu Thakur, and they were having nice Krishna Katha, and at one point Kalidas said, my great benefit would be to put my head at your feet, to touch your feet with my head. He said, no, you can't. You're from a high family. I'm just from a lower family. Please, don't speak in that way. No. He said, aho batasva pachatogriyan yajjivagre vartite namatu te pustapasye juhu sasnoya brahmano chibnama grunanti yete. He says, aho batasva pachatogriyan, that even if someone is born into the house of dog eaters, he's considered to be a great personality if he's a devotee of Krishna. Aho pachatogriyan aho batasva pachatogriyan yajjivagre vartate namatu, if on his tongue the holy name is chanted. Such a person, he has all the good qualities of the brahmanas, bathed in the holy rivers, had all good qualities if someone is chanting the holy names of Krishna. So, of course, Jadu Thakur, he appreciated this. And he was chanting so many other verses, Kalidas. So he left these mangoes with Jadu Thakur. And he left. Now he left. It's etiquette that when you leave the house, the person who you're visiting, they go with you. Yeah. So Jadu Thakur went with Kalidas. They were walking away and for some distance, and then Kalidas he went on, and Jadu Thakur he came back to his house. So after Jadu Thakur went back to his house, Kalidas followed his footsteps, and he was taking the dust from where he stepped, and he was covering his body. Even to this day, this area where they lived, it's still famous. People can go there. These two, Jadu Thakur and Kalidas, they're still famous there because of this amazing pastime. So he's taking all this dust and he's just covering his body with it. And then they took these mangoes and they honored the mangoes, and then they threw them out the window. He went and he got these mangoes, and he's taking the remnants. Yeah. The skin, yeah, he's eating the skin. So he was such a great Vaishnava, we can't imagine. And this will show you how great he is. When Lord Chaitanya would go to the Jagannath temple, no one could take the water that would wash his feet before he would enter the temple. Nobody. It was very strict. Nobody could get the water that washed his feet. Very strict about that. Kalidas walks up while Lord Chaitanya's feet are being bathed, and he puts his palm under Lord Chaitanya's feet, and he gets the water, and he takes it 3 times. Lord Chaitanya didn't say anything. And then after the 3rd time, he said, "Okay, that's enough." This is how great a devotee, because he was getting the mercy of the devotees. He wanted to serve the devotees. He wanted to please. Very humble Vaishnava. So this is the result, that we please Krishna if we have devotion for him, if we have devotion for his devotees. And there's another quality that, as we heard last night, another quality that very much pleases Krishna is compassion. And there was a devotee that exhibited this compassion more than anyone else in Chaitanya Leela. Who was that? Vasudev Dutt. And I have to read this to you. This is I can't give justice to it, trying to remember it. But he said to Lord Chaitanya, "My Lord, my heart breaks to see the sufferings of all the conditioned souls. Therefore I request you to transfer the karma of their sinful lives upon my head. Let me suffer perpetually in a hellish condition, accepting all the sinful reactions of all living entities. Please finish their diseased material life." When Lord Chaitanya heard this, tears flowed from his eyes, and he began to tremble. So this is the epitome of compassion. Just so concerned. He's ready himself to go to hell and suffer perpetually so that others can be free to go back to the spiritual world. Imagine. It's just inconceivable. So Prabhupada says in one purport, the mind should be so trained that it's always thinking of doing good for others. And the best good that we can do for others is to give them this knowledge. To give them this knowledge. This is what is most needed. Because people are in ignorance now. So much ignorance. bodily conception of life. So many foolish things people are absorbed in now, wasting so much time. All this Facebook and all this wasting so much valuable time. All the internet. But we have this knowledge by which people can get out of this forest of material enjoyment and go back to the Vrindavan forest. Now that's a forest to get lost in. Forest of Vrindavan. And that's what we're doing. When we distribute books, it's an invitation to Vrindavan, back to the spiritual world. So, if we have these two qualities, devotion for Krishna and compassion for the conditioned souls, then we gain great faith. We gain great faith in Krishna. Ashradhana Purusa, Dharma Shashapra. For those who have faith, then you've gained great success. But if we don't have faith, then what a waste of the human form of life. There's one story I heard recently of two devotees. They were at the what is the most famous temple in Vrindavan? Monkey Bihari temple. And they were in the temple and they bumped into each other. And one of them fell down and he got up and his breath. He said to the person, "What are you, blind? What do you just?" And the person said, "Well, yes, I'm sorry, I am blind." He was actually blind. He said, "You're blind, then why are you coming to the temple? You can't get darshan, you can't see the Lord." So the blind man said, "Well, the Lord can see me. So I come here and I beg for mercy. I beg the Lord that someday I could serve Him with love." And it said that he would wish the Lord a good morning. And he said, "I also come here to hear from the Vaishnavas. And when I hear from the Vaishnavas, then I remember Krishna. And I come and I hear the holy name." And this man that was kind of challenging him, he said, "Oh, please forgive me. I'm actually the one that's blind. You're the one with eyes, and I'm blind. I just come here and do rituals. Just come here and get darshan, give a donation. It's all ritual. But you come, and you're actually trying to get the mercy of Krishna." So this is real. This is jnana chakshus, to see with knowledge. So he couldn't see with his eyes, but he could see the Lord is here. I need the mercy of the Lord. I need to hear His name. I need to hear the philosophy. Yeah. And if we do this, then we can also see nicely. So, is there any question, comment? Microphone is there.
Well, one thing which was minor was when it was listing the different ashramas, and then it was saying, maybe you could remind me what it said. It was saying for brahmachari this, for grihastha there's allowance for sex life, for the other three there's not. But then for the three where there is, or for the three where there's not, it kind of said it differently. And then for vanaprastha it said, a vanaprastha voluntarily restrains from sex life. So I'm wondering, could you say something, or could someone say something on how those three celibate ashrams, how they differ? Because it was said differently, as if there are distinct differences.
Yes.
So,
okay,
and also brahmacharya versus sannyasa, it said it differently. I can't remember if it was significant or not. But that voluntarily restrains, how is it any different from, in one sense, a sannyasi also voluntarily restrains from sex life. Of course, it's prohibited, but he's then voluntarily doing it. So, what does that mean? Okay, let's find it here. Yeah.
the karmis do not practice brahmacharya, vanaprastha, or sannyas, for they are very much interested in grihastha life. In other words, a human being is very much materially inclined. Indeed, all living entities are materially inclined. They prefer grihastha life because there is a concession of sex, for sex. Is that above? There is no sex life except in the grihastha or household or ashram. The brahmacharya is not allowed any sex. A vanaprastha voluntarily refrains from sex, and the sannyasi is completely renounced. So the brahmacharya is kind of like a sannyasi. The difference between a brahmacharya and a sannyasi is the sannyasi, he's taken the vow. No sex the rest of his life. Brahmacharya, he can still take up household life if he wants. But in India, it's such a strict thing. Even if you're a brahmachari, if you put on white, it's like a sannyasi, isn't it? Brahmachari in India, it's like that. You're like as soon as you put on saffron, it's like you're a sannyasi. So therefore, even though a brahmachari wants to get married, he's like real reluctant because his reputation goes down, isn't it? And then a vanaprastha, he voluntarily, of course all of them voluntarily, but the difference is that the wife is there, and he voluntarily just refrains from sex, whereas in all the others, the woman is not there, so which is, you could be more difficult. You can imagine it'd be much more difficult. It's like here, this is the only ISKCON monastery in America that I know of, which is just men, huh? Yeah, it's just men here. So it's a little more peaceful on the mind. Imagine if you're living with a woman, you're always there. A little more difficult, to control the senses. Just like imagine you're fasting all day, and all day long you have one of Jamal's cakes in front of you. Or you have we had a nice feast yesterday. Imagine you have the feast in front of you all day long, and you're trying to fast. It makes it tough, So, but it's the greatest austerity. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the austerity of the body, brahmacharya mahingsa cha, the austerities, that's one of the austerities of the body. Deva dvija guru pragya pujanam sochamarcha brahmacharya mahingsa cha sariva tapa uchate. That to offer respects to God. Deva dvija, to the gurus, to the brahmanas. Deva dvija guru pragya, saintly persons. Deva dvija guru pujanam socham arjamam, to live a simple life. Yeah. And then brahmacharya mahingsacha, to be celibate. This is one of the, and therefore Bhishma's name is Bhishma because he took that vow that he would never marry. So it's the greatest austerity, actually. But it's a nice life, actually. If you're engaged in devotional service, I mean, I having a nice life, just engaged in devotional service without that. Do you have a question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you for the nice class. It's been a while since I've read this section, so I don't really recall what is the reason given for Madhavi being counted as only half a person.
Oh.
Because she's a woman, or what?
We'll let Dravida answer that.
It's, I mean, first of all, she's, one of four, right? In other words, just think of that part first. That she's one of the four most intimate servants of Lord Chaitanya. in that environment on a level, experiencing talks and sharing on the level of the Ramananda Roy and Subdhamma like that. But I think Prabhupada's reflecting in that assessment, the social convention, the idea that there's a certain regard of, just like in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the verses, Mam Parthivibhasya Papa Yonaya, Striyo Vaishitata Shudras. So, they're not really put in Papa Yoni category, but those are four categories that Lord Chaitanya lists who are less regarded. And among those, the ladies are thought to be less able to perform severe austerities like the sannyasis and so forth because of the nature of their conditioning. But that doesn't mean they're any less able to advance in devotional service, as illustrated by this Madhavi lady.
Yeah, just like Prabhupada said that to some women, if you think you're a woman, then you're less intelligent. And he told Yamuna that if you were a man, I'd have you as GBC. He was very fond of Yamuna. And there's so many women in our society, thousands. Now, how many men are there on this planet? Billions. So all these thousands of women that are chanting Hare Krishna, serving, they're more intelligent than all these billions of men that are out there enjoying their senses, completely absorbed in the bodily conception of life. So there's these women we have in our society are much more intelligent than billions of men on this planet. Right? So, yeah, it's just, if one wants to serve Krishna, then that's very intelligent. If one wants to understand what is the absolute truth, that's very intelligent. And there's many women in our society that have the goal of understanding who they are and going back to Godhead. Very intelligent. There's many women in this movement are much more intelligent than myself, I can say, safely. Yeah. Raj, yes.
That was a wonderful class. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes we forget to mention that same Papa Yoni, that Shudras are mentioned, which includes the males, and we're actually less than Shudras in Kali Yuga. We're animalistic beast with two legs, so we're in the same boat they are. And having said that, having quoted Srila Prabhupada, if you identify as a woman, then everything applies to you in regards to the bodily consciousness and all its negative connotations. But in the same sense, you can take it that if we identify as a brahmachari, a sannyasi, a householder, a vanaprastha, it's also, that's an illusion. It's an upadhi. It's a temporary designation at best. And the same philosophy that you shared in relationship to having affection for their family members, but they're attracted to Krishna, that's the secret of transcending the bodily concept of life while performing one's ashram duties. I was appreciating Prabhupada talking about the four duties, because if you're not in one of those ashrams somewhere, then you don't really know what your duties are, because it's practical application of Krishna consciousness for those who aren't attached to Krishna. You got to show, you got to practice, you got to do it, do the work, and that's through the rules of each of the ashrams. But you do it dutifully, understanding that I want to transcend this. I'm not this thing. The goal isn't just to be renounced or to live without a woman or what have you. Krishna in the 11th canto says like that. It's not just by attachment or knowledge that I'm conquered. Not at all. It's by the bhakti, as you were emphasizing in the class, the attachment, the love for Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Birds and the bees. Now, I guarantee you that Prabhupada had did not know about the birds.
He
and
didn't put
bees,
that in
things.
there.
No, it's not that he didn't put it in there. It's just that birds and the bees, they mean the sex life. That wasn't there. And in fact, the very word bees in this context, because we've had it before, you'll see sometimes birds and bees. Prabhupada very well may have said beasts. Beasts. And I'm going to check this. Check it out.
Birds and beasts.
Birds and beasts. Yeah.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki